Hello, everybody. Welcome to the second part of the unit, wherein we will be dealing with the responsibilities and functions of HR manager and also the skills which are required for the HR manager. So let's look at first what are the objectives of HR. The objectives of HR management, primary objective of course is effective utilization of human resources. This we have reiterated earlier also. Then maintaining interpersonal relationships, that is between individuals, among groups, good and harmonious relationships, as well as with the management. The relationships needs to be very, very harmonious, and contributing for the development of the individual in terms of training, learning, etc. And more specifically, the core objectives in terms of societal, organizational, functional, and personal. Okay, it's not that the HR functions are restricted to the employees within the organization. Slightly broader objectives are also there. And this is where we say that there are four functions in the form of societal, organizational, functional, and personal. So in the form of societal, what are we trying to say? What are we trying to talk about is wherein the societal in the form of, because it is a society which frames the rules, regulations for the company. And it is the duty of the HR to see that these are in practice and the compliance is there. So we call it as the legal compliance function of HR. Then managing benefits of the employees is another aspect. And of course, earlier, since in the manufacturing units, we had a lot of functioning of trade unions. So managing trade union relationships, conflicts, etc. That is at the societal level. That is, these are basically issues between the company and government, I can say. We can say that. Okay, so that the company maintains harmonious relationships with the government. In order to maintain that, compliance is required in the legal angle, in the union management relationships, and in the benefits, so that no strikes and no other untoward incidents takes place and no cases are registered and there is no loss of work which happens in the organizations. That is the first objective, to see that it functions smoothly with the external governmental bodies. Second is second, third, and fourth are basically with functions within the organization. So within the organization, slightly at a broader level, we can say it is talking about the HR planning, the number and type of people whom the organization would like to have in the near future, planning for them, for those workforces, selecting them, training and development, that is subjecting them to training so that the career development process, etc. takes place, and the appraisal measurement assessment process is also there. Then a functional objective in the form of placing the individual, that is in positioning the individual in the right place, so that there is a matching between the skills of the employee and nature of the job. Then assessment of the function or performance of the employee is another angle. Then personnel function in the form of development of, that is the training, development of compensation, and what salaries need to be given, the packages to be designed, etc. So the four main objectives and functions which are being carried by the HR, I think they are now quite clear. Now earlier, if you have seen, we were speaking about the personnel management, and still we do talk about personnel management, but we add to the newer functions and the newer roles and responsibilities which the HR has. Even today, there is a need and a necessity to maintain an employee database. Only thing is, the record books have been replaced by computers. So record keeping, maintaining of employee related information in the form of service books, e-books, etc., appraisals, etc., any document pertaining, any information pertaining to the employees have to be registered, have to be documented in the organization, and that is the first function. That is the first thing that HR focuses upon. And records include not only the usual schedules, etc., and pay, compensation, transfers, etc. It also includes the health and medical records, jobs previously held, the number of promotions that the individual had, the transfers, seniority list, the absences, earnings, the confidential reports, etc. So about an employee, the entire information needs to be recorded and stored in one place, and that is what they take. Then, going a little into detail, let's take a look at the first one, that is the HR planning or manpower planning, as it is more popularly known as. How does it go about this particular function? First, the HR has to maintain an employee database. Now, this database will highlight the competencies of the employees, the skill sets of the employees, and the position of the employees, and the next level to which they are likely to be transferred or who are going to retire, etc. So this database will also give us an idea as to the number of people who are going to retire, or sometimes who have given notice that they are going to leave the organization, etc. Then when the organization is planning for an expansion, growth, wants to open an office abroad, etc., then the number and type of people that the organization would require can be first tapped from that employee database. And there is a scientific way of doing this. This way, the forecasting techniques, the trend analysis, competitors analysis are some of the methods which are being used in order to predict not only the existing but also the future requirements in the organization. And this will also facilitate the promotions, transfers, resignations, and other career advancement schemes which the organization has undertaken. So this HR planning process is a very important step, wherein they have a very clear view about the total number of employees, the position and the level they are, the future growth of those employees, and who are the people who are going to resign or leave or going to retire from the organization, and in future who are the people whom they would like to have. So manpower planning is making an estimation about the future assessment basing on the existing employees in the organization. So once we get an idea as to the number of people and type of people whom we might be requiring in future, then the next question, logical question, is what is the nature of work which they will be executing or which they will be performing. For that, the next step is what is called as a job analysis. And this job analysis has got, two components in it, wherein we speak about the job content, job specifications, nature of the work, etc. And we can proceed in several ways, and several methods are involved as to where we get the information about each job. Some observations and scientific methods are involved where we get to know what are the rules, what are the responsibilities, skills required as far as the job is concerned. So this job analysis has got two parts. On the one hand, it talks about nature of the job, then the amount of physical, mental capabilities which are required for the job. That is one part of it. Second part of it will speak about what skill set that the employee should possess in order to interact with this type of a job. So the job analysis clarifies the requirements of the job, nature of the job. It also clarifies what are the skills required from the individual's point of view. And that actually leads to a stage wherein now we have a clarity as to the number and type of people whom we want, and then the nature of work which they will be performing, and what skill set or knowledge or qualifications we are looking for, etc. Definitely the market will be flooded with all these people, and a lot of people will be existing in the society, in the larger society, as far as these the type of skills or knowledge levels we are looking for. But the major challenge is how to attract the talent, best talent into our organization, how to make them apply to our organization. That is what we call as sourcing of the applications. Right? So the recruitment process is where we attract the maximum number of applications or maximum number of people into our organization. Number of factors are operating over here, but the responsibility of the HR manager is to see that the maximum number of applications reach the organization. That is where the recruitment process comes in. Then starts the selection process. In the selection process, after receiving the applications, screening of applications, then the usual processes of selection process takes place. We arrive at what is called as a selection ratio. So if more number of applications come into for a limited number of positions, then we can apply the selection ratio, and then accordingly we might screen the applications and invite a few of them for either a written test or for a personal interview or for a group discussion, etc. And then make or administer psychological or other type of ability tests onto the individual according to the nature of the job, and get a profile of the candidates with reference to their skill levels or ability levels. That is the job of the HR. So obviously the people with the higher potentialities, higher skill levels, higher ability levels will be identified, and they will be shortlisted, and they will be called for interviews and selected for the position in the job. So this is where we say that we have matched the requirements of the job with the skill set of the individual, and this is what we call as the job fit in the organization. This entire process is possible and it is being executed by the HR department. So we have recruited the candidates, selected the candidate and put them in the right place. Next what? Next comes the process of placement and induction. Placement is assigning a position to the individual. So here actually we identify a designation, we give a designation and place the individual in a job. That is placement. Then what is induction? Induction is also known as orientation. Induction is a process where we integrate between the organization and the employees. It is a responsibility of the HR department to execute the induction program. That is, acquaint the employee with the job duties, job context, environment, salary, schedule, procedures, policies, reporting channels, responsibilities, benefits, leave procedures, any disciplinary actions, grievance redressal mechanisms, facilities like canteen, restrooms, etc. This induction process can take place from 1 day to 7 days, wherein a total orientation of the individual employees into the organization, where the exposition takes place and the employee understands what the organization, how the organization is, and is ready to perform his job. So the employee starts working, is inducted, he starts working. After a period of time, the employee needs to be trained, his skills have to be honed, sharpened, or sometimes new skills have to be learned. So the responsibility or another function of HR is the learning and development aspect. It's a continuous process, and training needs to be given for upgradation of skills to function effectively, and development is where it prepares the individual for higher responsibilities. So, and it also prepares people in today's world for international placements or global placement processes. Most organizations have a learning and development wing of their own. For example, banks. Every bank has its own learning centers where batches of people are trained, skill upgradation takes place, personality development programs takes place, so that the employees are ready for future promotions, are ready to take up higher positions and responsibilities and work efficiently in the organization. Having worked for a considerable period of time, say 1 year, the assessment process starts. So how does the organization know whether the employee has put in the required amount of work, has delivered, is on time, and is able to function effectively? So all this is because all this information can be got by conducting the performance appraisal. It's a duty of the HR department to conduct performance appraisal process, to administer the process, to evaluate and convey the results both to the employee as well as to the top management. So the feedback is given, and if there is a discrepancy between what is the actual and what is the desired, then some corrective measures are being undertaken. Counseling of the employees also takes place. This entire thing is responsibility of the HR. We have observed earlier also that when employees enter the organization, they're also interested in their personal career growth. So HR needs to act like a facilitator in supporting the employee for their career planning. They have to highlight and give clarity as to what are all the career growth opportunities, advancements available within the organization, so that the employee can plan carefully to move in the career ladder. They also have to create supporting systems and identify mentors and coaches who will do the hand-holding for the employees and take them forward. It goes a long way, because career planning leads to career success, and employees will be satisfied, and automatically the morale of the employees will be high. Their commitment levels will also be high in the process. And now comes the crucial aspect, that is all of us definitely would be looking at what is the package that the organization is giving to us. That is compensation. Compensation basically includes salary, benefits, perks, allowances. Designing of a compensation package for an employee or for a particular level on a competitive basis is the responsibility of the HR. Here, rules, regulations, procedures, central government rules, state government rules have to be complied, and this design has to be taken place. Employees have to be satisfied at the end of the day, and then compensation should also be such that it should attract employees into the organization and it should motivate them to perform and continue. Incentives should also be such that they are always attracting and motivating the individual to perform or to undertake higher responsibility or challenging tasks, so that they are able to do better in the organization. Basically, a compensation package also reflects the image of the organization. Any successful organization definitely has a grievance redressal procedure or a mechanism. The Act specifies very clearly the steps in the grievance redressal procedures, and it is the duty of the HR to establish these steps and procedures so that no employee holds back on their grievance, because once grievance is not ventilated, it has a consequence on certain other areas of work life in the organization. Apart from these functions, HR also has to take care of the welfare functions. That is, welfare aspects can be broadly identified under these headings. That is, the upkeep of the working conditions, the facilities in terms of lifts, elevators, toilets, etc. Then canteen, the type of food, menu, etc. and places, proper place, lighting, ventilation, etc. Then if a creche is available, then the facilities of a daycare center. Then providing proper rest and lunch rooms so that the workforce can have a proper break from their work. Any housing schemes or allowances to be provided to their employees. Transport allowance or provided to the employees. Medical assistance, education allowances, health insurance, etc. Safety of the employees, and looking after or providing some of the recreational facilities. These are considered as welfare because taking care of them definitely is considered as taking care of the welfare of the employees outside the job or outside the working conditions also. Ulrich has tried to give a model, wherein he tried to talk of the multiple roles of HR professionals, which is summing up of what all we have said. So he says that the first thing is the pivotal role of HR manager in the form of being advisory, proactive, welfare, developmental, mediator, counselor. All these aspects we have observed in the functions of the HR in some function or the other. Then a specialist role in the form of a service provider, facilitator, executive, consultant. So they are always there. HR is always available for the employees to either facilitate their career planning or execute some function or the other, or act as a consultant so that a new employee is being guided properly, etc. Then in a strategic management role, where they are part of the strategic management or the top management in formulating the strategy, executing the strategy, and with the help of technology, they actually implement. So in that sense, we say that they are advisory and they play a very important role, and they have moved from a routine function to a very strategic function in the organization. And manage the people in the organization, in the administrative role, operational role, and strategic roles. This we have already stated prior to this also. And to sum up, the three main roles in the form of business partner, the strategic partnership, employee advocate in the form of goal setting, communication, employee empowerment, ownership, etc., and work as a counselor in the process. And today, the new trend is in the HR functions, we notice that there is something called as an EHR. So we are looking at a paperless office in the process because of automation and technology, and more of intranet to operate, and HR analytics to be in place, and use of HR softwares so that many of its functions can be executed in a very, very efficient manner. The skills of the HR manager, having identified the functions of the HR manager, what are the skills which a HR manager requires? Basically, he has to be an effective communicator, because he has to communicate with the workforce of the organization. He has to be good at relationship building. He has to be high in interpersonal relationships, because he will be dealing with people, individuals, groups, different groups at any point of time. Adaptability skills. HR cannot be rigid. So they have to adjust themselves, adapt themselves to the type of context or environment in which they are. Then the learning and openness, they have to be ready to accept any sort of a change, be proactive, and try to assimilate any new information change which is happening and implement it in their organizations. They should also be equipped with the critical thinking and multitasking skills, and very good as far as negotiations are concerned. So this way we have summed up the skills, the functions of the HR department, and the skills of the HR manager. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.